Emirates NBD sees record profit and the GCC mirrors the Fed's interest rate hike. You're watching the Daily Brief with Forbes. I'm Ramia Faraj. Emirates NBD's first half profit surged 130% to a record $3.35 billion on strong current and savings accounts growth, coupled with a healthy increase in lending. Q2 was also a record quarter for the bank, with income growing to $2.94 billion and profit rising to $1.69 billion. The bank added $14.43 billion of deposits. It says profitability reflects higher margins, growing non-funded income, and a lower cost of risk, coupled with a strong regional economy. The central banks of the UAE, Saudi, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar have raised their benchmark borrowing rates in line with the Federal Reserve's quarter-point rate hike as the U.S. continues its battle against inflation. It pushed the U.S.'s rates to a 22-year high. The GCC mirrors the Fed's rate hikes, but inflation in Saudi is forecast to only reach 2.1% this year, and UAE inflation is forecast at 3.6%. The Fed, meanwhile, says it may hike rates further. Despite rising rates, lending increased in the UAE in Q2. A UAE central bank survey reveals an increase in business loan demand, with 47.9% of respondents reporting a rise in demand across all business loan categories. Demand was most pronounced among large firms and SMEs. In terms of the Q3 outlook, survey results suggest solid aggregate loan demand, supported by strong expected demand from large firms, followed by SMEs and government-related entities. Oil prices rose this morning as the Fed announced its latest interest rate hike and as it continued to be boosted by a drop in U.S. crude inventories. West Texas traded above $79 a barrel, rising for the fifth time in 6 sessions. Analysts say the technical psychological level of $80 a barrel for WTI may soon be reached on tightening supplies, a less hawkish Fed, as well as signs that China may stimulate its economy further. Saudi is expected to extend its 1 million barrel per day oil supply cut into September as it aims to boost crude prices. The kingdom announced another oil cut this month in addition to the output cuts it's making with its fellow OPEC Plus producers. Analysts predict the cuts will continue into September. Oil prices have risen about 12% in the past month on recovering global fuel consumption and as producers cut output. Samsung Electronics suffered a 95% plunge in Q2 operating profits to $525.3 million, owing to weak demand for memory chips. This marks the firm's worst quarterly profit since the first quarter of 2009. Samsung's Q2 net profit fell 84.5% to $1.35 billion, and sales dropped 22.3% to $46.98 billion. The firm blamed weak demand for its chips and mobile phones, but offered an optimistic outlook for the remainder of the year. Meta shares rallied after earnings reports topped Wall Street's expectations, rising 6.89% after hours. Meta saw $32 billion of sales, beating estimates of $31.1 billion. Ad revenue rose 12% year-on-year to $31.5 billion. Losses in its metaverse division moderated from $4 billion to $3.7 billion. The segment has lost about $25 billion in its 1.5 years of existence. Meta's social media business raked in more than $80 billion of operating income. Airbus and Boeing saw improved revenues in its first half. Airbus saw a net profit of $1.17 billion in Q2. Its Q2 revenue surged 24% year-on-year to $17.6 billion and totaled $30.71 billion for the first half. Boeing's Q2 revenue, meanwhile, rose 18% to $19.8 billion and $57.7 billion in the first half. Airbus says it delivered 316 commercial aircraft in the first half, while Boeing's deliveries for H1 totaled 402 aircraft. And director Greta Gerwig's colossal Barbie movie has grossed $214 million at the U.S. box office in its first 5 days in theaters. That shatters the record for biggest opening for a film with a female director. It's now heading for $500 million in global ticket sales. I'm Ramia Faraj. This is the Daily Brief. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.